What's happening, guys? Big Daddy here. At least that's what my grand youngin calls me. We are working on the 64 Comet. Today's a beautiful day, mid-70s, light breeze. Couldn't ask for any better weather. So, right there is a rusty cowl vent bucket. We pulled the fender off, and we've got to go and do the same thing to this side and see how bad it is under there. It's not going to be that big a deal. So, it's time for me to get to work. Peace. All right, we got the same song, second verse today. I'll just go over real quick. Won't waste a bunch of time. If you watched the video from the other day doing the passenger side, the driver's side's pretty much the same. You got to undo the headlight bucket. You got to undo the bolts across the top. You got one from underneath. You got about 2 or 3 in here, which hold it to the core support. And then, of course, there is one bolt from the inside of the car on that left kick panel. It's a stud that sticks out of the fender into the car, and it's got a nut on it. So plug over it, pop plug out, stick the socket up in there, and you can take it out. If you drop it, don't worry about it. It's going to fall, and it's going to be right here. As soon as you take the fender off, you can get it back. I think that's about it. So, let me get my penetrating oil and start soaking some of these fasteners, and we're going to get after it. Alright, we're going to give a quick tech tip. A lot of times penetrating oil doesn't really help you. We do it because we're trying to get all the advantages that we can, but it does help some. It's just not always all that it's cracked up to be. Sometimes it's just be better if a fastener just went ahead and broke on off. But just go ahead and tell you this: when you're undoing fasteners that can be difficult to come out, back them up until they start getting difficult, and then turn around and go the other way with it, all the way down, and then get under. If you can get access to the threads, spray a little more lube on it and go back the other way. And you may have to do that several times on old rusty fasteners. This one is pretty well stopped. We're going to go back the other way with it, take it back down. Alright, where are you? There you are. Hit it with a little more lube. Back down until it gets hard again. Game of back and forth, back and forth. What you're doing basically is not throw off a bit of time. Not going to lock up this time, it's just tight. And there it comes. Patience and back and forth. Alright, let's see if we got all the fasteners off. I had to get a little aggressive with one of them. Alright, open this door and get her to come past. Let's see if that's all of it. Feels like all of it. Ba-da! Yep, she's just about as bad over here as over there. And this is officially supposed to be the drain right here, I believe. Pretty sure anyway. Well, got some errands to run this afternoon. We'll be back on it in a little bit. And another mouse house. Go get the shop vac, see if we can get some of that cleaned up. Alright, we've got her apart, and this side, the cowl vent riser is what I'm going to call it, is actually in much better shape than the passenger side. This side does have a few little holes right in here that I think I can repair and not have to cut this piece out. It looks structurally like this piece here is pretty solid. Where you run into problems is back here, and actually on this part of the bucket right here is actually rusted out. You can see it goes right into and underneath the dash. What I wanted to talk to you about is, if you've never messed with one of these cars, what you're looking at in order to replace this cowl vent bucket. This cowl vent bucket is made up of two different pieces. You have this upper piece, which has the grill vents in it. It is also a place to mount the wiper arms, and the lower piece actually has the wiper motor mounted to it on the bottom, and then you've got the heater box on the other side, couples to it on the underneath side. Now, here's how this thing is installed. It is installed across the front of the firewall. The upper and the lower come together with a pinch weld and meet here with the firewall there, and all the way across to the passenger side, around, and the lower edge of where the windshield sits is made up of this upper, lower, and, believe it or not, the dashboard in this vehicle is welded in. And from what I can tell, what it looks like, it's all incorporated into 3 pinch welds right here. It's at least 2 pinch welds to make this window channel. It's at least the lower cowl bucket and the upper. But in order to replace it, I'm pretty sure windshield's got to come out, dash would have to come out, and then you'd have to drill out, I don't know, 150, 160 spot welds. If it's anything like the Mustang, which looks almost exactly like the Mustang. It's not a fun project, it's not an easy project, and would actually mean that the front inner fender aprons on this car have got to come off as well, because they are welded on to the upper section and are in the way of being able to get it out. So being able to fix this on the car is much more cost effective and time savings. Like I said in yesterday's video, if somebody's a purist, they're not going to like how I'm going to fix this car. But hey, it's not going to allow water to get inside. This right here is one of the main causes of the floorboards to rust out in these cars, and water intrusion in these cars is this right here. And that would go for the Mustang, that goes for these Mercuries, and I had, having not looked at other cars, other Fords of this generation, the Galaxy and the others, they may be made in a very similar fashion. So that said, I've got my teeny tiny little wire brush. It's time for me to go to work. Alright, I have been working and bleeding off camera here for about 30 or 45 minutes. I wanted to go ahead and get the rest of this ring out of here, and this piece is laid in here like this, and it is spot welded all the way around, and whether you have a hard time getting to the back side. This side's pretty easy, but getting it to come out, well, that's another story. There's all the pieces. It'll take them out a little bit at a time. Fuss and fight. Old screwdrivers shoved up under it, work it back and forth till you get it to break off. And one of the tools that I have found, it comes from house painting industry. It works excellent for this kind of stuff, and I've used it a lot working with sheet metal to get up under something, get between two pieces that need to be separated, to get in there and start working it. It's what they call a 5-in-1, and that, like I said, that's from the home painting industry. So get you a 5-in-1, keep in your toolbox. You'd be surprised at how handy that little tool comes in. But anyway, what else I did off camera is I went ahead and I fabricated the same thing that I used on the 67 Mustang when I repaired it. And I found that it fits just perfectly. This is like 6 inches across, and it's a metal coffee can. This riser is 2 1/4 inches. I measured it before I took it off. It's 2 1/4 inches. So I have some metal coffee cans that I've kept around in the shop for years. I will sand that piece, deburr it, get it all cleaned up, get it to where it'll hold paint, and I will pour 15, and then I will paint this piece to keep it from rusting. Now, before I put all this back together, of course, as I showed you last night, there's a lot of rust repair that's got to be done up in here to fill in here and seal and keep water from continuing. And I can even get all the way to the back and finish getting the rest of the debris that's back there. So I'm going to fix this in a way that I have fixed other holes before, like this, and it works quite well. And that is the long strand matte fiberglass. You can probably see the black dots in it. That is from where I have used it and accidentally dripped this on it. This Pour 15. If you're not familiar with it, this stuff works. There's a lot of people that don't like Pour 15 or believe that Pour 15 works. I'm here to tell you I've used it, and there have been applications where it failed me, and it was my fault. It wasn't Pour 15's fault. You have to do your prep. You have to get this stuff, you have to get the loose scaly stuff off. You have to make sure that there's no any kind of oils or penetrating oils or any kind of petroleum around, or this stuff will peel right off. But wherever I put this stuff that it was prepped correctly, it stayed. Now, what I do is I will take and I will cut the section, and this is what I'm thinking I'm going to do. I'm not all the way there yet, but this is what I'm thinking I'm going to do, because this metal is so rusty, and it's going to be so hard to try to get back in here and cut and fit and weld a piece in here, is I can take that fiberglass, cut me out a piece that pretty well fits and covers most of the holes, and I can paint this with that Pour 15, get it good and wet, then take my fiberglass and lay it into that Pour 15, and take more Pour 15 and go on top of it and soak it into the fiberglass cloth, then let it set and dry overnight. You may have to come back and hit it with Pour 15 2 or 3 times, and I'll do it from underneath. Once it's dry, of course, I can do it from underneath and catch any rust that's underneath here, and do it out here, and you keep going until you get it perfectly sealed. One of the ways I check to see if it's perfectly sealed, I shine a light from inside out or outside in, and I look to see if I have any light coming through. If you got light coming through, you're going to have water come through. It's pretty simple. I've done that on 2 or 3 different types of repairs. It worked perfectly. This is in a spot you'll never see it, and all we're trying to do is get this thing to quit leaking water. Another product I bought and wanted to try out, and I have not tried it before but will, is Pour 15 patch. This is basically Pour 15 in a paste. They say that this can actually add structure back to rusted metal. Now, I can't substantiate those claims. I've never used pour patch. This will be the first time. So, I'll let you know how this stuff works and what I think about it. If it goes as good as this stuff does, it's a good product. But it says it can be used filler and seam sealer, and it's to be put in areas like this that are hard to weld and hard to get to. It's supposed to fill in those holes. One of the things I read and understand about this stuff is as it's curing, you can take your finger and wet it and smooth that stuff out, and it helps reduce any grinding or sanding that is required. But there again, I'll let you know how that stuff works out. I'm thinking it's going to be fine. So, again, the shadows are starting to get long. I've been thrashing on this thing for a good little while now. It's already bit me, and I'm giving up blood for it tonight. But that's just part of it. So, anyway, if you'd like to keep up with this project and know more about it, go out there and hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. Hit that like button. And there are other videos that you can watch about this vehicle coming up on the screen right now.